even things like taking votes on what the prom theme should be this year. Kids are using social media in ways that they didn't used to. You used to always see posters around schools. We still have that, but there's a lot more happening on social media, and it's giving students a lot of ownership over their own experience, their own school experience. And it's pretty neat to see the innovation that they have and the way that they're willing to think outside the box and how to reach each other. I always say mental health supports are important for kids, but what's even more important are friends. And we need to help students find ways, productive ways, safe ways to make friends and meet people and feel connected to their community.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hi, I'm Martha Salazar Zamora, the very proud superintendent of the Tomball Independent School District. Tomball is a suburb of Houston, Texas, where we have 23,000 students in our fast growth district on 23 campuses. I'm very proud to say I was just named the Texas Superintendent of the Year for 2023. Glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Kevin McGowan, Superintendent of the Brighton Central School District, just outside of Rochester, New York, upstate New York. We are a 3,600 student district across four different school buildings.
Hi, my name is Christine Tucci Osorio, and I am the superintendent of School District 622 located in Minnesota. We are a first-ring suburb of the city of St. Paul, and my schools are in the cities of North St. Paul, Maplewood, and Oakdale. We've got about just under 11,000 students across 11 traditional schools and a number of additional alternative sites as well for about 20 different buildings and programs.
How has the prevalence of technology in the classroom impacted student learning and engagement?
So really, when you think about technology, it is an additional tool that for years now we've been able to infuse into instruction to only elevate the rigor and the relevance of what is happening. And so it is important that not just the students have the knowledge that they need, but that our staff be as prepared through professional development and the proper use of the technology and all of the different devices that we're able to utilize in education today. It's an exciting time.
I think the prevalence of technology in the classroom has increased student engagement and improved student learning outcomes overall, just by the simple fact that kids are engaged differently than ever before. Technology has allowed us to move kids around the classroom differently, for them to be presented information differently, for them to interact with each other and their instructor differently than ever before, to take advantage of the mass amount of content that is available online and really focus then on using that as raw material to demonstrate their learning.
Well, I would say the prevalence of technology in the classroom has many amazing benefits. For one thing, the pandemic really taught us how to move from paper pencil and, hard-covered textbooks into much more of a digital environment. And so the cool things about that include, obviously, more interactivity with the curriculum materials, videos, 24/7 access. The programs that we're working with now are really, truly engaging. I would say students are feeling much more connected to their teachers because they're in a software environment together. There's a lot more communication that happens outside of regular class hours because they're connected to each other through the internet and through their devices. And of course, it brings a lot more creativity in the way that students demonstrate learning. So rather than the traditional methods of writing papers, there's a lot more of producing videos, podcasts, slideshow presentations. There's a lot more, I would say, creativity that goes into demonstration of learning. And that's been really exciting to see as well.
How can school districts deal with social media issues that might originate on a social media app, but then create a very real problem on campus?
So there's good and bad when you think about social media. And I love the fact that educators and students alike utilize the goodness that comes out of social media. However, there are some dangers and some concerns. And I will tell you, one that we deal with is actually cyberbullying, and the fact that that can be a very real problem. And the fact that we want to ensure that we do everything we can to educate our students, our staff, our community, so that we don't see the ill effects of what can happen if a child is bullied online.
I think that social media issues that arise outside of school on apps are really the modern day form of bullying that occurred before. They are the modern day form of people just being unkind to each other in so many ways. And it requires schools to be direct, to build capacity ahead of time, to work with kids on being good digital citizens, but then to approach them the way they would have always approached an issue. Social media may be the new vehicle, but the accident is still the same. And so really having the thoughtfulness to be direct and to involve parents in that conversation and help kids understand how their actions online could be so incredibly hurtful so quickly. It certainly has increased the speed in which an incident can become bigger. But at the root of all of it is still about character. It is still about treating other human beings the way we would like to be treated.
Oh my goodness. As a school superintendent, we often deal with issues involving social media that maybe start outside of school and enter school and definitely cause a lot of challenges. We know that young people are learning and practicing how to solve problems, how to have positive relationships, how to navigate dissension between peers and be they friends or romantic people or whatever. Our students are learning how to navigate relationships. That happens anyway for young people, adolescents. We know that many of childhood squabbles between friends and siblings are actually really important parts of development, right? Because those are things that help you then become a more productive adult. You're more likely to solve problems better if you've had practice doing that as a child. So we know even sibling rivalry has a developmental piece to it that's important. And we also know that when the pandemic shut down schools, a lot of students fell behind in their ability to practice those things. And practicing is really important in these developmental years. Social media had become a substitution where people can have more of those experimental relationships, but it also can go really sideways quickly because it doesn't ever stop. It's 24/7. Students may not have the skills to navigate conflict. Well, they don't have those skills inherently anyway, but then you throw in a social media environment where there's even greater opportunity for being misunderstood or having miscommunication or tone is not picked up as well in those settings. So it's a real challenge for young people when they are relying heavily on social media for those relationship experiences. And so we often see challenges that come into school. And in many cases, it's a lot of sitting down and doing some mediation between students. It might revolve around some restorative practices, maybe a listening circle where students absolutely need an adult to support them in unpacking their feelings and helping to navigate how to communicate those feelings with another party. So all of those things happen. And of course, in more extreme situations, we often involve law enforcement, right? We know that those online threats, right? It's so easy to hide behind a screen, especially if you think you're anonymous and say things that are unsafe or throw things out there that really cause fear in society. And when those things happen, we have to involve law enforcement. And we've worked really closely with our law enforcement to understand when we need to intervene at a higher level. Our law enforcement departments, and we work with multiple cities here. We have really strong relationships with them, and they've been helpful in getting us even access into those social media companies such as Snapchat, TikTok, what have you. And sometimes, we even have to get, some sort of an order to have those accounts looked into to try to identify where the sources were, if there was a threat that was named online, for example.
Can you provide some examples of how your students may have used their social media in a positive or maybe even a productive manner that may have benefited themselves or their community?
So I am so proud of our 23,000 students in Tomball ISD, and there are so many examples. We wouldn't have enough time of ways in which I've seen our students utilize social media for good, to help someone in the community, to help other students. The first thing that came to mind, though, was we were hit with a very, very bad hurricane. And through that, once we were able to get back online, our students pulled together and really posted ways in which students who were not in school at the time were able to go and help people in the community that were in need of assistance, whether that was assisting them at home with even food deliveries, whatever they needed during that time. So it was amazing to see kids in the really event of a catastrophic event turn social media into such a positive way to serve their community.
I think it's really amazing how kids have harnessed the power of social media to send positive messages, to encourage each other. For example, we have a group called the Hoop Group. It is like our fan group that really brings kids to the games with themes and spreads positivity that way. I've watched kids use their social media accounts for particular projects to get feedback from other people, to do surveys, and to really launch their own entrepreneurial endeavors and to gather lots of steam that way, lots of followers, and really engage with human beings in ways they never had the opportunity to do before.
I keep speaking about the pandemic, but post pandemic, there's such an enormous need to make up for lost time. One of the things that we're focusing a lot on is how to really, really help students have strong relationships with each other. And we have a very clear goal to try to get every student in our high schools and middle schools, at least, connected to a club, an activity, a sport, a performing art. And what we're finding is that the students themselves are amazing at marketing their club or their program, and even coming up with new ones that they want to take the initiative to lead. And they have done an amazing job recruiting other students to join them through social media. We've also done things like every year our high school students do a major fundraiser for cancer research. And so they do this enormous fundraiser that goes on, but they collect incredible donations from community members and family and friends. And they use that as a way to also gather donations towards their causes that they're interested in. Even things like taking votes on what the prom theme should be this year. Kids are using social media in ways that they didn't used to. You used to always see posters around schools. We still have that, but there's a lot more happening on social media, and it's giving students a lot of ownership over their own experience, their own school experience. And it's pretty neat to see the innovation that they have and the way that they're willing to think outside the box and how to reach each other. I always say mental health supports are important for kids, but what's even more important are friends. And we need to help students find ways, productive ways, safe ways to make friends and meet people and feel connected to their community.
In the age of one-to-one, how are you preparing students for positive technology use both in the classroom and at home?
So the age of one-to-one is important because truly everything we do, we're connected to technology. And it's important that students have the skill, not just in elementary, all the way through high school, but continuing, whether it's college, career, or military readiness. They have to have the skills that they need to be able to do their very best in the next chapter of their lives as they go on into their next career or as they go on to higher education. It is something that we utilize in every way, in every day.
I think it's really about helping kids understand, again, the impact of what they do online. Number one. So pause before you post and really think carefully about that. Responsible use of resources and how to cite resources, how to also differentiate between good resources and maybe not so great resources, and discern the information that may be factual versus what might be partisan or just simply inaccurate. And then really help them understand how to use those tools to produce and to create from the raw material that they're gathering.
We are preparing students and families very intentionally to use technology in a safe way. So we provide student training, we provide training for families to really help them understand. And we're very intentional about having language interpreters with us when we're working with families, maybe whose first language might not be English. And that's proven to be very successful.
Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.